as we reach the quarter-way mark in the Championship. It's Sheffield Wednesday, QPR and Rotherham in the bottom three. Are they destined to drop, or can they survive? Let me ask you a question to start this one off. How many of the last 15 teams to get relegated from the Championship were already in the bottom three at the 11-game mark? Get your guesses in via the comments and I'll give you the answer at the end. Look, if you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know my broad theory is that teams get relegated either because of owners and chaos, size and bad luck, or a combination of both. So, are Sheffield Wednesday, QPR and Rotherham waving any of these red flags? Well, in a word, yes. Actually, a big resounding yes. The most gigantically obvious owners and chaos red flag is currently being waved by Mr. Chansiri at Sheffield Wednesday. Their previous relegation in 2021 came with a 6-point penalty thrown into the mix, and in the past 4 months alone, the Owls have had 3 managers, 12 new signings, a few too many statements from their owner, and widespread condemnation from their own fan base about the ticket prices. The QPR owners and chaos flag isn't being waved quite so vociferously, but it is blowing in the wind still. Their majority shareholder, Tony Fernandez, director of football, Les Ferdinand, and captain, Steff Johansson, all left the club in the summer, and the recent fans forum was dominated with the topic of FFP and not breaching it. With Rotherham, their 3 Championship relegations in the past 7 seasons are far more in the size and bad luck category. Millers fans, please kindly understand that that is the polar opposite of a dig. The Millers' total revenue is, as a rule, likely to be about 1/5 of the size of a Year 1 parachute team, and to compete as well as they do with that infrastructure should be viewed as a compliment for sure. I know that's a lot about off-pitch stuff, but even though some fans want to make gigantically dishonest leaps of logic to pretend it's not an important factor, it really is. On the pitch, the 3 sides have combined for just 3 wins in 33 games so far, and Sheffield Wednesday are not responsible for any of them. What we can say about Wednesday is they have rolled the dice to bring in Danny Roll, so even though that's potentially another check in the chaos box, we can at least say that he personally doesn't have that stain on him. Rotherham are only 1 win further on than Wednesday. They survived comfortably last season with 50 points. They did only lose 43% of their away games though, and that number so far this season is up at a whopping 83% and really needs to come down quickly. QPR have the perpetually positive Gareth Ainsworth trying to get things moving, but they're still well and truly stuck in first gear, with the worrying stats all pointing at a particularly impotent attack. Rangers 23rd for goals scored, 22nd for expected goals, and 24th for big chances created. So Wednesday, Rangers and Rotherham are obviously not doing it on the pitch, hence they're already in the bottom 3. And we've got off-pitch issues with 2 of them as well. Is there anyone with similar issues within lassoing distance who can be dragged backwards and below the dotted line? Well, the next 2 sides are Stoke and Watford, who would likely be considered by most to be grossly underperforming expectations so far, and already have playing and financial resources well above our current bottom 3. Stranger things had happened, but I suspect we'd need to see probably those 2 go through multiple manager changes and completely botch a reset in January to continue on a downward or even worse trajectory. The next 2, Huddersfield and Plymouth, are possibly more likely candidates. Look, I thought Huddersfield were dead and buried last season before the Warnock wonder escape. That squad isn't massively different, is it? And barring anything crazy happening, the Warnock factor is not going to be a thing this season. Plymouth, well, they're back in the Championship for the first time in 13 years, and I guess you could make an infrastructure argument, particularly in their first season up, but they have been well run for a good few years, and unlike Sheffield Wednesday, the club and manager have used their momentum from last season's promotion from League One to get at least a bit of a head start. So, what's the deal then? How do the bottom 3 get out of dodge? Well, in very general terms, the 10-year averages still tell us that scoring 45 points in a Championship season gives you an 80% chance of survival. For QPR, that would be a 34% improvement needed on their first 11. For Rotherham, a 78% improvement. And brace yourself, Sheffield Wednesday would need a 262% improvement. I'm sure none of us want to go down this route, but there's always as well the potential of capitulation elsewhere. And we know in the last 4 seasons, the club has been relegated with a points deduction. More specifically, at Sheffield Wednesday, their start is so bad that Danny Röhl basically needs to immediately turn them into a mid-table team to give them 45 to 50 points and at least a chance of surviving. At Rotherham, I'm pretty sure they're capable of keeping their home form better than the 3 worst in the division. They're either going to need far more on the road, or that home form is going to need to go up to top half level for the points to accrue. For QPR, feels like the players are really going to have to go all in on Ainsworth's style and psychology. His Wycombe side only went down by 1 point in his last full season managing in the Championship, and I don't really see any other option than getting in line and behind Gaz and going for it. There you have it. That is my take on the current bottom 3 and what they might need to do to survive. Let me know your take in the comments and tell me this: how many of the current bottom 3, QPR, Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday, will ultimately be relegated from the Championship this season? Look, if that was all a bit gloomy, let me tell you, in answer to the question at the start of the video, that 5 of the last 15 sides relegated were in the bottom 3 at game 11. The good news is that suggests only 1 in 3 will actually go down. The bad news is that these historical precedents are a nice guide, but guarantee absolutely nothing. If you want to know a few more detailed thoughts and predictions about what might happen in the bottom 3 in the Championship table, then click here and you can check out my favourite international break pastime, a fun game of higher and lower with my pre-season 1 to 24 list.